Hello and welcome to Influencer Chat, recapping the circle. I'm Ben and joined by Brian, and we're back. We took a couple seasons off because of timing with the releases being unfortunately overlapping other reality TV shows we were covering. But yeah, we are back here to cover season 5 of the American version of The Circle on Netflix. This is the singles season, as they are, selling it to us because Netflix has trouble with reality shows that aren't built around dating and some concept. Although the Mole reboot was very good.
Yes. Then I saw on my homepage on Netflix today they had a big banner ad for the Mole, so I feel like they're pushing that maybe because so many people are watching The Circle again. But yeah, we're back. Like Ben said, we had to take some time off. It's real messed up of them to put out like another season of The Circle, what was it, like a month after season 2, which just didn't work, and then we ended up just skipping season 4 altogether because of other stuff. But yeah, we're back. We have some familiar faces, not just from The Circle, but from our time podcast. Well, I guess BB20 was before our time, but from our like fandom of reality TV. So I'm excited to get into this.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously have Brett from BB20, and we also have Marvin here, who was originally supposed to be slated for Big Brother 24.
He's a superstar. He's a reality superstar, Ben.
Yeah, and I believe this appearance on The Circle is one of the multiple reasons why he was cut from that cast and replaced by Joseph relatively last minute.
He's like, what do you mean I can't be on every reality show on every different network all at once? Some bullshit.
Yeah, some like NDA stuff. I know he was also on like America's Got Talent, I think.
Yeah, that was like airing at the time of the cast release for him. And I get it. I get why every reality producer is like, we need Marvin. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's funny and charismatic. He's obviously like good looking and like kind of got like the bodybuilder body. So I understand. Makes sense. He's been fun so far on the show. But yeah.
And I do expect to see him on Big Brother at some point. Whenever his contracts run out, like
we'll see.
It's gonna happen.
As long as the producers aren't upset with him that he presumably possibly misled them about other reality TV appearances.
Yeah. If I was him, I'd just say like, oh, I didn't understand. Who reads the contracts?
Yeah, I mean, I thought you meant like, are you currently on a reality show as you're filling out the paperwork, which I wasn't.
Yeah, so he wasn't doing it from the Circle apartment.
from the backstage, from the apartment. Everyone else is doing jigsaw puzzles and playing like basketball, and he's filling out the Big Brother 24
every different thing. Well, if not Big Brother, the challenge, I'm sure he'll get a call for, because he's seemingly, like you said, he's built like a bodybuilder and he has a great personality, and I feel like that's like the niche the challenge wants for their male players.
Yeah. So anyways, other than Brett, who I believe he was he introduced first or second? He was one of the first.
He was one of the first for sure.
Yeah. Which we knew from the preview, the cast preview showed him, so we were prepared for Brett to be on this season. I think that we'll talk about how he does, but definitely underperformed so far, his performance from Big Brother 20.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a real quick in and out for Brett. Luckily, he got saved by a twist here, but I feel like they also kind of, and I don't blame them, but like they definitely teased us with Shuby in the previews. Like he was going to be a first one in, but he's in the second batch, which, is fine. But like I liked Shuby a lot on his first season, so I was hoping for more of him.
Yeah, it is an interesting decision to have a returning player and to not have them be in immediately. I guess it kind of makes sense because they want the season to have its own identity still, which is kind of the issue with when you have these single returning players come in to a reality TV season, when we see it like with Big Brother 19 with Paul. where they kind of become the centerpiece of the show, and it's less about the new players and more about the returnee. So.
Have they done similar things on the British version of The Circle?
They have not. There has only been 3, what they call them, series of the British version. Yeah, I don't think there has, unless I'm forgetting something, I don't think there has been a similar thing. I think there might have been like guest appearances, but not as a returning player. It's been a while. It's been a couple of years since the series ended, so yeah. But yeah, very interesting to have Shuby. I believe he's the next player who's going to enter, followed by the 2 people who are also teased in the preview. So yeah, I guess anybody else immediately stand out to you from the introductions?
Obviously Raven and Paris as the interpreter. So I get Raven's the player, right? Paris isn't in like at all for like money or anything. Should Raven win, but you know, I thought it was cool. You know, a deaf player. You obviously don't need to actually, you know, be able to hear people in the circle. It's all text based. So this is kind of like the best reality competition show for someone who's deaf. So really excited for her. She seems like a great character as well right off the back. Looking at the names, I think Chaz also great. I think he's playing very well. And then Sam impressed me in this, you know, the second half of these first 4 episodes. The way she was kind of able to play her way back into the good graces of everybody was, to me, impressive. And, you know, I got a hats off to her for that.
Yeah, as Chaz will say when he saves her, she's shown a lot of growth, which I think is, probably the way to put it. Definitely somebody who I pegged as could be an early boot, and has survived thus far and is settled into a good spot. But yeah, I also Chaz, to me, from his intro package, I thought he was going to annoy me because it seemed like a little bit over the top and like super kind of kitschy, but like. Other than that intro package, like pretty much immediately he just started growing on me. And you know, we'll talk about it. I'm pretty sure you probably agree that he's the best player right now.
Yes, yep, definitely, 100%.
I just want to make sure we're on the same page before I say it definitively. But yeah, for me, he's like pretty definitively the best player. Obviously, the circle has a lot of RNG, especially in the end game. So being like the obvious best player doesn't necessarily mean he's the most likely to win.
Right.
But yeah, he's definitely been my favorite to watch play the game.
Yes. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think, you know, he came in and he was ready, and now he's in a good spot. Double influencer. Like, obviously this will be a little different because the way the first elimination worked was like just single pick, and every single person had to make a pick, so it kind of alleviates any potential like guilt or bad blood. Now he actually had to, you know, make a decision, so it'll be interesting to see how he kind of navigates that to potentially stay on top of these rankings going forward.
Yeah, what was your thought about that opening twist where like everyone had to like kind of pick a target and then it was revealed the rankings afterwards?
I think we've talked about it previously. I don't mind twists. Like, this twist is fine. I don't love it when the first round of a game is a twist. I think you should play at least the very first round as like the base level game that you're playing, right? So I didn't love it, but it did also kind of feel like they wanted to have that twist with the 2 players coming together. And it really, really worked out for productions to have like one of the most attractive men and one of the most attractive women in like an apartment together, like on the singles season. They got really lucky, but maybe they felt like this would be, you know, the case.
Yeah, and 2 of the people who are actually real people playing real players and not catfish or, you know, lying about being single. or like lying, like like Chaz is not single. Obviously, like Brian, aka Brittany, is not going to get into a live showmance for realsies. So like it definitely worked out. I know a lot of people are like, I wonder if it worked out a little too well. But I do think the logic for how it played out made sense, and I think it was probably just a happy coincidence.
No, agreed. And I do wonder, and I want to get your take on that. Do you think it wasn't on the show, but a lot of people were surprised Brett wasn't a catfish? Do you think it's because people knew him from BB20 and were like, "There's no way this is actually Brett from BB20"?
Well, see, that's what I thought at first too, but I feel like if I was in that position, I would think the opposite, because why would somebody come in and intentionally catfish as like kind of a like mid-level Big Brother player from like a random season? Like,
it would be so random.
Yeah, so like it's not like as we talked about and saw in season 2, for instance, like somebody catfishing as Lance Bass.
Yeah,
like
insane.
That kind of raises more eyebrows, and even then, it's like, well, okay. I mean, Lance Bass is involved in the reality TV community, fan community a bit, and the Circle would probably be the type of show that he would go on if he were to go on any. But like for me, Brett is like the archetypical Big Brother player that I would expect to start going on other random reality shows afterwards anyways. So like if that's the reason he was eliminated, then I think that's silly. I think it was probably more to do with he didn't make enough of an effort in the chats, because we even saw this, and I think that we could talk about whether people who come in early or late in that first 8 kind of split have an advantage. But both Xanthi and Brett were a part of the first group of 4, and so they spent a lot of their chat kind of or they spent a lot of their time in the Circle chat chatting with that initial 4, and then when the new 4 people come in, those 4 are more likely to dominate that segment of the chat. And so if you aren't the like 1 or 2 people from that initial group of 4 who are making an effort to like butt in and like show your personality to the second group of 4, then that group of 4 people is going to just immediately kind of put you at the bottom of their list, right? Because it's like, oh, I came in with this group of 4, so I feel some kind of initial camaraderie with them, and like, oh, this 1 or 2 people, like somebody like Raven, is making an effort to like be a part of the conversation, whereas Xanthi and Brett weren't as much.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, and we did see it real hard. Brett even said, like, to himself, he's like, "Oh, I didn't even say anything." And like, if you're not going to say anything, what can the other players really take from that, right? Like, you'd have to like DM every single person and try to get one-on-ones, which is also like a weird thing to do. So yeah, he certainly didn't play very well. And I think, Brett is like a pretty good Big Brother player. He's pretty likable on his season. He ends up getting cut because the like bigger strategic players are worried that he's too likable, and why risk him getting to the end. But I think that plays a lot better in real life. And I think he kind of learned that, right? That like, oh, this is a different game. Like I can't just be like handsome and charming. I also have to be like active at the same time.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think also his personality doesn't translate super well to the Circle. The way that he is probably able to like do or like have his personality translate better in a game like Big Brother, especially where there's more time before eliminations generally to get to know people and to like kind of realize what is him kind of playing a character and what's his actual like self, because let's be real, like, is Brett kind of a douche? Yes. Is part of that at least a character for TV? I would say yes. And I think that he probably leans too far into that in this situation. So that would be my take. I do, we'll obviously talk about Jennifer I think that both Brian and Xanthi are doing way better as Jennifer than they would have as themselves, even if they hadn't been booted first. So I'm pretty okay with the twist. I did see the twist coming. I was like, there's no way they're eliminating them with a first impressions thing and like not having the two of them do the comeback with a catfish profile twist.
Right. Which, I don't mind as a twist. I think it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that the kind of just we're like, this is your player, like it's not like, oh, you have a bunch of options. It's like, okay, this is your player now. Figure it out.
Yeah, it's usually how it was done. I think that's the same thing happened to like Lisa and Jack in season 2, for instance.
Right.
And like I think at most they'll give them like a choice between 2 profiles to pick from.
Except they didn't say Jennifer was a medium. Missed opportunity.
Yeah, no ghost. I feel like every like fake profile they give them is some like weird medium priest ghost hunter kind of spooky shit, which is probably why, and we always didn't talk about season 4, but it's probably why when Rachel came in on season 4 as a ghost hunter, everyone was like, oh, she's a catfish. Right? it's like everyone who's a ghosty or spooky person previously was like a catfish profile the producers gave them.
It's hilarious. Yeah, I guess it's kind of like, oh, they're from the other side, speaking to you from the grave, so to speak. But unfortunate.
Yeah, we also saw Nick and Vince in the burner profile in season 3. The same idea. Where it's like, yeah, obviously, the Rachel girl coming in who's new. Who's with the Spice Girls are in here playing a profile the producers gave them. I've seen this one before. All right, it's the ghosts.
Oh man, so I should leave that out. If I ever go on the circle, I don't make videos about urban legends or anything. Right?
No, it's automatic catfish. That's automatically something a catfish would do.
Okay, noted.
Yeah. So I guess anything else from the first episode or 2 that like before kind of Jennifer and Tom come in?
No, nothing I can think of that's really stood out there. Other than, like I said, Sam realizing that she was kind of boned and quickly readjusting her positioning. Like in a traditional like round, she 100% could have, maybe even likely would have been the person out, just because it's like, well, everyone rated her as the least, so we, no blood on our hands. So she lucked out a little bit here.
I think he probably would have been fine in this circumstance, just because Chaz was an influencer and Chaz was like the one person at the start who made an effort to like reach out to her and like try to pull her in as a little pocket ally.
That's true.
Which is part of like why I think Chaz is in one of the better positions and was one of the better players right now, is to have that forethought to do that and recognize that she's kind of an insecure person who will respond positively to that.
Right.
But yeah, I guess the other thing I wanted to point out was, while Xanthi was quiet, the other thing that I think probably did her in was during the Who Are You game in the first episode. She was the one person who didn't say that what she wanted out of life was to be happy, and instead said, I believe successful was the adjective she chose. Which when you're trying to suss out who's like the competitive gamer, you usually don't want to be the one person who's like picking success over happiness in a questionnaire. Because like other people said, the obvious pick is happy.
Hopefully future players are watching these mistakes and won't make them going forward.
I mean, we've like talked about in these games before that you're not supposed to tell the truth. They aren't party games. The games are there to fuck up your game. they're traps and they're tricks.
Can't help you, can only hurt.
Yeah, if you're immediately going to fall into a trap that's that obvious, then I mean, that's just kind of you kind of reap what you sow.
Right. Oh man.
All right, that's pretty much all I had up until Jennifer and Tom come through.
Yeah, so we got a comedian, very fun. What do you think of Tom? I think he's pretty funny so far, but
Yeah, he's also somebody who kind of grew on me. I didn't really like. I'm very hesitant on these shows when like a comedian comes on because a lot of times they're very tryhardy. No offense, Brian, but
no, I know what you're saying. You put the pressure on yourself if you go into a situation like I'm a comedian. You know, I don't think it's a good idea personally in any of these shows to do that, but hey, good for Tom.
Yeah, and then as far as like, I'm relatively impressed so far with how he's been playing, especially given that he's like one of the British players. We have like two British players at least so far in the season. Him and Billie Jean, I believe, as Bruno. And usually we have seen that players from the UK and like the UK reality TV sphere is more anti social strategy as like a game and more of it like as like a TV experience. And this is something that kind of played out in the UK version of the Circle, where the first season or so there was a lot of public pushback against the players, and so I'm like kind of pretty happy so far that he seems to be a pretty good player and is like actually taking an active role in the game.
Yeah, no, agreed. And interesting too, he's like in line for the throne, like, and he lives in the Tower of London.
Sure, yeah,
That's pretty crazy.
If like 75 people get like hit by a meteor or like get blown up in a terrorist attack, maybe.
Hey, that could be the future king, Ben. Not that I support that, but you know, I did think it's interesting that he lives in the Tower of London. I don't know how you could live there without like being worried that it's like haunted all the time. You know what I mean?
Well, maybe that's maybe people will start thinking he's a catfish if he starts talking about how the Tower of London is haunted.
Yeah, you had to leave that out.
Yeah, I had to leave that one out.
I do like that he's on an American season, and like just so many of the Americans are like, "What the hell is the Tower of London? Why'd you say that? Like it was something we'd give a shit about."
Yeah,
that was a very American response, and I appreciated it.
Yeah, I think was it Sam? Somebody, I think it was Sam, had like a funny comment.
Yeah, she. I just because like obviously in the UK, the Tower of London's a very important historical thing, but it doesn't mean much to us here.
Yeah. I mean, what would be like the American equivalent, right? It would probably be like
American equivalent of the Tower of London.
Yeah. I don't know. We don't really have anything like that.
Nothing like you'd like live in.
Yeah, nothing that you live in. That's true. Yeah.
I'm the caretaker of George Washington's house. Like that'd be like somewhat commensurate.
Like Mount Vernon, maybe.
Yeah, I'm the Mount Vernon caretaker. I make sure that it's like good for the public to come visit.
Yeah. And I'm also the Secretary of Commerce. So if like 17 people die, I'm suddenly the president.
And I'm on the Circle.
Yeah.
That's where we're at in America right now.
Yeah, so I guess he does kind of fit like a niche that only really somebody from the UK, like a person in that niche from another country really wouldn't make sense to go on a reality show on Netflix.
No,
it's kind of uniquely British.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I've enjoyed it. I know we're kind of punking on him and the UK in general, but you know, I have enjoyed him on the show so far.
Hey, look, I mean, historically, if we're looking at British contestants on the US version of the Circle, we have Chloe Vetch, however you pronounce her last name, is the runner-up from season 2. So like, or season 3. Was it season 2 or season
2?
Season 2, yeah.
Yeah, because we covered.
Yeah. She was the runner-up to Delisa/Trevor.
Yeah.
And so obviously, like, it hasn't hindered British players from being on American reality show in the same way that you might expect it to, if there's like slight cultural differences or it's harder to relate with certain experiences. Yeah, we haven't really talked about Billie Jean / Bruno very much, but the stroking the dog comment was, maybe that's why Bruno dropped to second to last in the ratings. Everyone was like, "Man, Bruno's kind of a
need Jennifer
weirdo."
to chime in on this.
Mm-hmm.
Should we let her, or should we let Bruno be stroking our dogs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we were fine with Bruno in the first impressions, but when we realized maybe there's some bestiality kinks going on there, absolutely down to the bottom, just above because Brittany still is way worse.
Right.
But yeah, I really like Tom. I also we talked obviously about Xanthi and Brett briefly, and them coming together under the Jennifer profile. But I liked how they basically took being booted in this first impression thing as kind of a kick in the ass to actually get their head in the game and play more proactively. And we get this kind of truth or not truth or dare segment. What was the game they played that didn't really matter because they tied and they ended up both going to the date together anyways?
Right. Yeah. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, flirting one.
Yeah, they had to come up with like pickup lines, right?
Yeah, and Tom's wasn't that good, and everyone made fun of him, but he still got to go on the date. So joke's on you.
Yeah, I think this was correct from Jennifer, aka Brett and Xanthi, to take Tom. We've seen in the past that pretty much the only way for like newer players to come in and have a chance in the game is to team up. And historically, if newer players team up, they go further, and if they go against each other immediately for no apparent reason, then they end up getting easily picked off. and so I think that them making the concerted effort to turn this into an alliance right away is very smart and has seemingly worked out really well for both of them so far.
Yeah, and to be able to kind of be like a secret agent for each other and give each other all the information, like it's great. Good strategy. What do you think of the candy underwear? Was that too forward?
I mean, I guess like here's the thing. Well, we'll talk about Brian's mistakes on Brittany, being that he wasn't playing a character. He was playing a robot that looked like his daughter, primarily. Right? So in my opinion, it's better to just like commit to a personality and to a character and like just do everything like according to what that character would do. And this is essentially like a flirty divorced aunt who seems like relatively sexually liberal. So like I think that fits the kind of character, I guess, that Brett and Xanthi are trying to craft for Jennifer. And I think that like it's better than being boring.
Yeah, no, she's definitely like kind of person at the beach should be reading a book that says like Find Your Wanderlust or something on it. Just like, oh, Jesus Christ. All right. Happy for you that you're moving on, Aunt Jen, but
yeah. Well, she has to move to the UK because as Marvin says, the Cougars are cleaning up in the UK.
Oh man.
But yeah, I like this, and we have basically them immediately going in and executing their plan, which is Tom is going to get info from the guys, and Jennifer is going to get info from the girls, and they're going to come back together and pass information back off to each other. And this is how I would say you should go into any social strategy game and execute a strategy like this with a partner, like this divide and conquer strategy. Like it's almost never a bad idea as long as you have trust in the person you're doing it with. Like it's just good strategy.
No, agreed. Especially where you can do the, two genders. You can really get easy. Like, easier information out of people. As Billie Jean found out, guys talk to each other differently than girls might talk to each other, and
Yep.
vice versa. But yeah, so far so good. And then obviously they didn't have to be up for elimination, so good for them. They get to survive their one chance of being cast out.
Yep. So I'm excited to kind of see where that pairing goes, especially in the preview. We're seeing a lot of drama happening, potentially with the 3 new players who are going to come in the next set of episodes. So they feel like kind of a pair that can kind of ride out through the drama and maybe direct some of the targets onto other people. And we see in particular Brett and Xanthi as Jennifer trying to actively target some of the bigger name people like Raven and Chaz later on in the episodes. So yeah.
No, yeah, it's good. You weren't kidding too. That preview, intense. It was like, what is happening? This is not, the circle I know. Maybe it's gotten more intense lately, but certainly not the circle Shuby knows. I never saw him crying in the first season.
I mean, the first season of the Circle US was very kind of like a friendship simulator in a lot of ways.
Right. Yeah.
So, I definitely think that like this is kind of the natural progression of like these social strategy game shows, and we even saw it in the very limited scope of the UK version, where series 1 of the UK version was very kind of friendship simulatory, and by even series 3, which is the last, like the civilian series 3, which is the last one, you had a player character like Manrika, who was like very contentious and was playing very hard and aggressively, not necessarily well all the time, although she does get close to winning. But like definitely not the kind of energy you would have seen on the first series. And so I think that as kind of the players and the audience have gotten more comfortable with the show and the format, the players are more comfortable with being messier or like playing harder and more aggressively. So, which is great.
I think it's wonderful. I'll just be interested to see that. I think like the biggest storyline is the alliance between Chaz, Marvin, and Raven. Team Melanin, right? That was what it was called.
Yes.
Yeah. I think very powerful alliance. Potentially could run the game if they're able to like play this correctly.
Yeah, and see this when I think of like the new players coming in and trying to break up a structure, and somebody like Tom and Jennifer being able to kind of ride out the wave, this is kind of the structure that I would assume that they are going to be going after, the like kind of team misfits that we see Shuby in the preview referencing, trying to take down the structure, given that these are like essentially the 3 people at the top. 2 of the 3 of them have been double influencers so far. So like it makes sense that this is like kind of the Goliath that the new player Davids would be going after. But yeah, we see Marvin, who initially spent a lot of his early time bonding with Brett.
They broke down.
Yeah, they broke down to the point where Brett thought that Marvin was making fun of him for being such a bro.
Hilarious.
Obviously, after Brett is eliminated very quickly, Marvin has to pivot, and he pivots into this alliance here, and eventually into what is turning into a showmance with Raven. And so we have kind of this 3-person alliance where Chaz is kind of the strategic driving force, and Chaz also has Sam as like a separate side piece on the side, where he's basically kind of controlling 4 people. And the other people who are coming in are the 2 new players, and Brittany, who is, as we'll talk about, basically incompetent as a player and eventually is eliminated in episode 4. And the only other person left is Bruno, who has started to flirt with Sam to try to get some sort of footing.
Yeah. No.
And also, the other person that Bruno reached out to form a connection with was Chaz. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, at least Chaz did put himself out there for Bruno, in that influencer chat name of the show. He did like fight for Bruno, so that's good at least. But also, I think he's such a savvy player. He's doing that as a very self-interested move for the future, insurance for himself.
Yeah, I mean, like coming into that, I was 100% sure that Brittany was going because I knew that of the two of them between Chaz and Raven, that Chaz was going to be the one to not fold. Because like it's never really been addressed what happens if the influencers don't come to a consensus, if they just kind of are forced to sit there until one of them breaks, or like what happens. It's like kind of pretty much the only thing that we don't know how it works from a game mechanic perspective in the circle.
Yeah.
But from a pure willpower perspective, like Chaz obviously was going to win out over Raven.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd be interested. It reminds me of BB All Stars, where the two HOHs had to nominate and agree, or they would be the nominees. Maybe there's like a fail safe. Like if you don't agree, then you'll be voted for or something.
You have to draw rocks.
Draw rocks. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is, but whether it's the number one, I don't think that it would be that the number one influencer gets to break the tie, because that doesn't make sense. Because then why even have a second influencer?
Why even have it? Yeah. Because if that were the case, then the number one influencer just always 100% just hold steadfast.
Yeah, they would just get their way. Yeah. So that wouldn't really make sense. It probably is like you have an hour, 2 hours, or whatever to make a decision, and if you don't, then you're both eliminated.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, right? something. There's got to be something in place. So yeah, but definitely as we're coming out of this episode 4, there's 7 people left. There's essentially kind of 3 duos, and like Chaz has situated himself at the center of 2 of those duos, and he has like Marvin and Raven on one side, and he's in an alliance with them, and they're kind of like turning into a showmance. And then he has Bruno, who has reached out to Sam to try to form something, and like Sam talks about, I have my circle husband and my circle husband, and that's kind of another situation he's playing with. Like you can't really ask for a better social position. He's the number one influencer. It's going to be very difficult for him to be taken down in the short term, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. No. He would have to like royally like fuck up, which I don't see being likely.
Yeah. No, for me, I think that like the only thing that worries me about Chaz is he probably has come on too strong to be able to win in a final vote, with like kind of the strategy of how final votes in the circle work these days, which is like very kind of convoluted and like over strategic to the point where it causes one of the least likable people in the finale to win a lot of the time, or like the like least threatening person. So I think he probably needs to take a strategic backseat and just ride out his social position until a threat presents itself.
Right. Yeah, it'd be interesting. Trying to think. Anything else from this?
Okay, well let's talk about the one player that we actually officially eliminated, I guess.
Oh yes.
And what we've hinted at what Brian, aka Brittany, did wrong. But ultimately, what do you think was the downfall of Brittany here?
Oh, I mean, he shouldn't have played a, millennial Gen Z girl when he's, 47 years old and seemingly didn't prepare that hard.
Yeah.
It seemed like he just thought he would be able to wing it,
Yeah.
and he could not.
Yeah. I think that's like the on the face issue. Is like he had no idea what he was doing in terms of playing that character, which shouldn't have been hard because it's his daughter. He should be able to like at least somewhat replicate his daughter. But I think the bigger issue is something that we basically saw everybody eventually essentially figured out that he was a catfish, except apparently Raven. But the bigger issue that everyone kept bringing up was that Brittany never gave an opinion and was what is had been called in the circle before like a fence sitter, and never shared personal stories, never like provided any tangible strategic info or social info to other players, basically gave like canned responses to every message. And we saw this a little bit as well with Bruno, but Bruno had kind of made a little bit more of an effort to open up over time. But yeah, this is you can't do that. You have to give people something, otherwise people are going to assume you're one, a catfish, and two, playing them, both of which are bad.
Right.
So
yeah, unfortunate, but is what it is. I think I said it at the beginning of this episode. If not, it was right before we recorded. From the second he walked in, you knew he was doomed.
Yeah.
And it was like, Brian, I wanted you to succeed, Brian. Anytime someone has the same name as me, I'm always rooting for you, but it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else to say. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Like he didn't do anything like egregiously wrong, like from an active standpoint. He was just like aggressively passive at all times throughout the entire game. And even when it was pointed out, like there were so many points in games and like the tasks that they're given where he was essentially called out, or Brittany was essentially called out as being boring, quiet, fence city, like not giving opinions. Like it wasn't like it wasn't apparent what the issue was and how he could fix it. But the attempt at fixing it was like, well, I've done everything I can do. No, you really haven't, Brian. One conversation with Raven is not going to solve 3 days of doing nothing. But yeah, like it's just kind of too little too late in terms of like turning the ship around and fixing that issue.
The cargo ship is already sideways in the canal. There's no changing it.
Suez Canal's all blocked up.
Yep. So sucks. Should there be any I don't know, monetary or game advantage to finding catfish? Because the players act like there is. Like, who cares? I know we definitely said that the last time we recorded it, but like, who cares? He was a catfish.
Yeah. No, we've gone through this a number of times, and like we've only covered 2 of the first 4 seasons, and we've still said so many times that it doesn't matter who's a catfish and who isn't. And like there's been examples in the past where people pretend to care about the catfish for the TV show, but in reality they don't actually care. But there usually is like a good 2 or 3 players who legitimately are like, man, I gotta catch catfish. That's the reason I'm here. I gotta make sure that somebody authentic wins, because obviously like a good and likable person playing a catfish winning or somebody who did that and played a good game is not better than somebody who's kind of a bump on the log or has no personality but is a real person, quote unquote.
Yeah. No, it's just, it always strikes me as so funny. That there's such like a we need this, you know. And then also, I want to propose a twist. In honor of Twitter Blue being a paid thing now, should players be able to like say, okay, if I win, I'm subtracting $10,000 from my pot to be an influencer this round?
So it's kind of like the mole, where you have to like you can like bid pot money for an exemption.
Why not? You can have that for free. I know Big Brother Canada listens to our stuff and takes ideas. Influencer chat or the circle, you can have that from influencer chat.
I mean, that's literally a twist from the mole. It's like, you know, this round, the exemption is going to be everyone silent auctions a segment of the prize pool, and whoever bids the highest number subtracts that amount and is immune for the round. So it would basically be the same thing. The circle blue.
Yeah, the circle blue. You can play it in with the real life stuff on Twitter, and I think it works.
Well, here's the issue, right? What if somebody just bids the entire prize pool because they don't care about the money and they just care about the title, and then the entire like rest of the game, like people are playing for nothing, and then you have like half of the cast walk out because there's no prize pool anymore. I'm sure there's a way to do it. Where,
yeah,
like maybe like up to like 25K is the limit or something. But
right, yeah. That's on the producers to figure out, Ben. I'm just the idea guy here, sitting on my couch at home, being like, "Yeah, they should do this. This would be a good idea."
Maybe like there's a fire tokens equivalent, and once you've collected 5 fire tokens, you can buy Circle Blue and be an influencer for the round.
Yeah, you need people to come visit you and give you.
That make the visits actually matter, right? We're the eliminated.
We're onto something here, Ben. Netflix needs to call us.
Yeah, the eliminated players, they visit you in your room, and they give you
like half of a check mark. Yeah, if you get 2 people, you can buy Circle Blue. Perfect.
For a round, yeah. This sure.
It kind of that actually works a little better because it kind of incentivizes you to be on good terms with a lot of people. So if they go out, they're more likely to come visit you.
Yeah, and also, I mean, it makes more sense on the Circle than it did on Survivor, to be fair.
For sure. Oh man, well, I'll clip that out and we can see what the internet thinks.
Yeah. I like that the 2 halves of like a V-Buck card.
Yeah,
and you have to get both of them, and then you snap it together, and you're like, "I'm purchasing Circle Blue for this round. Give me my check."
Yep.
Give me my blue tick.
So yeah,
the other players see the tick mark on the.
It has to be a different color. You have to know. You got to feel the shame that Twitter Blue users feel for me. It comes with the like, this person paid for Circle Blue instead of this person is a notable or influential person.
Yep. Oh man. Not the stupidest twist, I would say.
And it could be at a good time. What if you're like about to go out and then you're like, nope, got my, Circle Blue.
It is a twist that theoretically would benefit the players on the outs too, because if it's something that's known ahead of time, then the people who are eliminated are going to be more likely to visit their allies who are probably also on the outs and give them potentially immunity. So from a game design perspective, like a game balance perspective, also kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Maybe we'll see it one day.
The only other thing that I really wanted to mention and bring up, I didn't bring it up when I was, regularly when we were talking about that segment of the game, but it really annoyed me that Marvin thought that Sam was a catfish because she has filtered photos. Because that's something we've seen so many times and it's never fucking true.
I thought about you when he said that. I was like,
I'm pretty sure I mentioned it before.
On the show that this would happen. You can't do it.
Yeah.
Like you got it, you cannot even
Yeah.
even
No, I
as
mean,
like one that's just in your gallery. Just leave them all at home. Take
yeah,
real pictures.
it's bad from both perspectives. It's bad to only put forward filtered photos on your profile,
Yep.
and it's bad to assume that somebody doing that is a catfish when historically it's literally never been the case.
Right.
It's always like if somebody putting forward filtered photos is almost a guarantee that that person is not a catfish. But
Right.
psychologically, people who don't know that are
Mhm.
going to be inclined to think the opposite. So it's bad
It's
for both people.
the circle uncanny valley is,
Yeah.
is a filtered picture.
Yeah, it's just no. That was like also one of the things like I saw Sam do, and I was like, oh, this plus her personality, there's not going to be, she's not going to be lasting very long here. People are going to be annoyed with her and think she's a catfish.
Not great.
Yeah, very lucky that she got picked up by the most powerful and likable person in the cast immediately.
Definitely. Oh man. Well, yeah, I think this was good. I think we went through it without we hit all the high points. I think we gave the producers some feedback, some ideas for twists. Really doing it all for free here. All we ask is you subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, 100%. I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm hoping that this is a kick in the ass for Billie Jean / Bruno to up her game, and for Bruno to actually take a more active game role, because she definitely was pretty close to getting eliminated here. And she's still probably in the most likely slot of getting eliminated in the future. So she has a lot of work to do. I'm hopeful. I think that Raven has kind of gotten by a lot because of her personality and her social abilities. I'm hoping that at a certain point she'll have a strategic thought that isn't just wanting to sleep with Marvin.
I mean, it's tough. He's very attractive.
Yeah, no, I think Raven is somebody who has a lot of potential that she's kind of not living fully up to because
losing
of her
focus, Raven.
Yeah, she's getting digmatized a little bit.
Right, yeah.
And obviously she's in a fine social spot. She's been an influencer twice, so she has a lot of cushion to work with. But she's definitely somebody who could start to slip if she doesn't start making more active strategic decisions, I think.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to say, I would say that someone from Team Ellen will probably win. That's my from the first 4 episode prediction. I don't know who it will be, but I want to say Chaz, but like you said, Ben, sometimes the best player, because of how the end game works, doesn't win. So it's hard to say.
Yeah, I mean, you want my hot take prediction off the dome from the first week?
Please.
Lock it in. I think Jennifer is winning the game.
Oh my God, Jennifer! That'd be something.
We'll see.
Yeah,
I think that I think Jennifer is kind of exactly the type of player at this point who is going to win this kind of organization of the circle with the way the end game strategy plays out in particular. We'll see. It'll be interesting. I think a lot of it will kind of coalesce around episode 7 and 8 coming out in a couple of days now. Maybe that'll drastically change my prediction. But that's kind of my wild shot in the dark. Is I'm gonna say
it. I think it's a fun prediction because I didn't necessarily expect it, but interesting. Brett, a winner of the circle. That'd be an interesting
co-winner
of the circle, co-champ.
Be the first duo to get eliminated and come back in to win. Interesting arc.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything you want to plug?
I mean, you can follow me on Twitter, I guess. I don't have Twitter Blue because I'm not cringe.
Yeah.
But you can follow me there at Ben Sharon on the screen. I haven't really tweeted about the circle because, with the way that it's released, it's very hard, I feel, to tweet about it.
Yes, because you don't want to spoil anything for people.
I don't want to.
You don't know when they're
I
watching.
don't want to spoil people and I'm not tweeting it live as things are happening. I'm basically tweeting it as I get to the episodes. So that is kind of like the one negative I would say with the way that the episodes are released is I don't really know how to. I even still to this point don't know how to interact with social media. Ironically, in a show about social media,
I know it's tough. It's tough.
But
I wonder when it was on in the UK. Was it like a? Well, they put shows on every day over there, so it probably was like that, right?
Yep, it was I think like 5 or 6 episodes a week. Once like I think every day except for Saturday maybe.
They're built different over there. Their reality TV consumption.
Yeah, but I mean it's less hard. Like it was kind of similar to like CBB US, right? Where it's just like an episode like almost every day, but for 3 weeks. So it's like, you know, you have to kind of hard commit to the show, but you only have to hard commit to the show for a few weeks.
Right.
And like that's not that different from like it's kind of like 20 episodes versus 13 episodes over the course of 3 to 4 weeks. So it's not that much fun.
But yeah, if you're you know, liking the circle and you're on social media, of course follow me. I also don't have Twitter Blue. I did look for the We Can Get Everything account until they announced the change, and then I was like, I don't want to be associated with cringe, so I unsubscribed because I thought I was gonna upload like all our sketches and stuff to the Twitter, but that never ended up happening. I ended up just paying for nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you follow me there. You can follow the channel at WG Everything. This is Better Radio. Please subscribe. We really appreciate it. We cover lots of reality TV. We're going to be covering BB Can soon. After this ends, very soon. And we cover Survivor. We cover BBUS. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun. So please subscribe here. Check out all our socials in the description box. Forgot the word for a second down below. And we'll see you in the next one.